Hello everyone, welcome back to the shop. In today's video we will be replacing the router table top. This is made out of melamine. Recently we had some severe weather, the roof leaked and it damaged the fence of the router table, so we will be remaking that as well as remaking a new top for the router table. It got some swelling from the rainwater, so we will be replacing that. I was also thinking of replacing this and adding a new router table insert, but this is too small. The standard router bits don't even fit through the hole. I'll not be using this. I was thinking of making a new router table insert plate from plate of aluminium that we will fit onto the new table. So we'll give that a go in today's video. While removing the top, the back brace broke loose from the cabinet and I'm just re-adding it now with screws and glue. The cross braces you see here are to support the top, keeping it flat as possible and keeping the cabinet from racking sides. Then on to cutting the new top to size. I'm doubling the top thickness with 2 sheets of 16mm melamine. I'm marking out the center for the insert and the lift mechanism, ensuring it is centered before cutting the opening with my track saw and guide. Cutting it with a track or punch saw leaves a clean cut, and since it's melamine, the edges chips away easily. Before making the opening for the router plate, I started making the new one from aluminium. It's a 5mm thick plate that I cut on the bandsaw to a rough size. I then squared it up and cleaned the edges with a palm router and flush trimmed it. The bit I'm using is not meant for metal, but it did a fine job, as long as I slowly moved it along the edges. Then marking the position for the center hole, the adjustment bolt and the locking bolt. I did a rough cut with a jigsaw using a metal blade, then came back to clean the edges with a flush trim bit. To get a perfect round cutout, I used a scrap piece of wood, cut a hole in it with a hole saw and clamped it to the plate securely before routing. Then came back with some light sandpaper and cleaning the edges with a file. I could then carefully mark out on the top where the insert plate will go and cut that out with my Makita plunge saw on track. I then used my pool saw to cut off all the corners. I used my drill guide here to drill out the corners and get nice clean edges. With the cutout done, I made this template the same size as the router plate to help guide the flush trim bit when cleaning up the edges. And with a bit of filing and sanding, the insert plate fits nice and snug. For adjusting the insert plate to be completely flush with the top, I used wood screws in the bottom section of the lift and took some time making small adjustments in each corner until it's flush and level. With the table now prepared for the insert plate, I finished the insert plate and also 3D printed a couple of inserts that will go inside the router plate. Also drilled the holes for the adjustment screw and the locking screw. The assembly is now screwed down into the bottom half of the table. Top side is routed out and the router insert plate now fits nice and snug and it's level with the plate. I think we are now ready to complete the tabletop, put it back together and insert the actual router. Alright guys, just a quick show on the router lift mechanism I built a couple of years back. It runs on 4 chrome rods with linear bearings on the side, keeping it nice and straight, and there's a threaded rod for adjustment. So now we can adjust the router up and down using the Allen key and the threaded rod. Allowing us enough space to get to the nut and the collet to change bits. I could now fix the top to the cabinet and add new trimmings on the sides using a nail gun. On to adding some T-tracks for the router fins to move forward and backwards, making sure they are square and parallel to each other, and then routing out the slots. For the front T-track, I'm using my plunge saw and track again to get that clean cut and remove any waste with a chisel. Okay everyone, so the router tabletop is now complete. I made a new insert plate out of aluminium. I 3D printed a couple of inserts that fits nice and snug into the opening. This will allow me to get easy access onto the router to change bits. I'll be making a couple of these inserts with smaller diameter holes for the smaller size bits. Also added some T-track, that will be for the fence, move up and down. And in front also a parallel T-track. This is for the featherboard that will move up and down. That will help push the workpiece into the fence when pushing it through the router. So guys, this is the old fence made out of MDF. Looking at it now, it seems quite square. Not really out of square at all, so that's fine, but there's a couple of high spots on the face side of the fence which we will try and sand out, make that level so that it's square and flat all the way. I'm using my orbital sander with a square guide. That will help me sand it square onto the face side and the bottom side, getting rid of that high spot. So let's check it now with the level. And it's fine. This side is now completely flush. We're going to remake the front side of the fence out of new melamine. So this one is a bit swollen, so we're going to get rid of this and add a new one on the front. Remount the dust port and then we should be good to go. So I'm making the new face for the fence. I added some routed slots for the T-bolts that will fit through the fence, where the two fence faces will be sliding outwards. For that I need to make a groove for the bolt to fit, and I'll need to make a slot for the movement of the fence. The two pieces will be sliding inwards and outwards. That will help with the dust collection once it's mounted on the router table. Okay guys, so the router table is now complete with the newly built top. As you can see, I went ahead and added the fence after I gave it a coat of paint. Also added 3D printed knobs at the back for the slide fence to open and close. I attached the dust collection hose onto the port. And to finish off the build, I'm taking the aluminium plate onto the CNC to do some decal engraving. In Fusion 360 I made a toolpath file and used a V-carving bit on the CNC, making one single shallow pass on the aluminium, engraving the details and my logo. Once the CNC was done, I used some sanding paper to clean up the engraved edges and polished up the aluminium to a nice shiny finish. Thank you all for watching, and I hope you liked this rebuild video. If you would like to see more, please consider subscribing. It's always appreciated.